Hey guys, today I want to talk about two things that the United States needs to change for expats and why. We have two things, Medicare and VA benefits. Both those things are something that should be changed in the US. Not just for expats, I think that needs to be looked at, and for me, I think it would be best if they took a look at Medicare and VA benefits. I'm going to start with the Medicare first. Medicare, a lot of people, both Filipino nurses, they go to the US, they put in all this work, they have to put into Medicare. All these people that work in the US have to put into Medicare, but when they leave, they can't take that with them. They can't use it wherever they go. And most of these people, and the US has the highest costing medical costs. When you go into a hospital or something like that, it's super expensive. Whereas when you come over to the Philippines, it's super cheap. It's actually probably like 20% of whatever a bill would be back there, 20 to 30% maybe, sometimes even lower, depending on what it is. And sometimes it could be a little higher than the 20%, maybe 50% or something like that. But it's always lower, ends up being lower here than in the US. If you get any medical operations or medical care over here, it's always cheaper. So why wouldn't we let Medicare travel with us? And we could always have the United States go around to these different countries, have the embassy pick certain hospitals in all these different countries. It could be anywhere, all over the world, and say, all right, let's pick these hospitals. If you go to these hospitals, you can get medical care with Medicare at these hospitals. The embassies could facilitate checking on these hospitals to make sure that these bills are getting done properly, that we're not getting scammed. There's nothing going on, no shenanigans or anything like that. I think it would. I think if you did that, I think it could work, because you could send somebody out, check with the doctor, and say, "Hey, did John Smith get his operation here? Are you the doctor? Yeah, oh yeah, I'm the one." And you make phone calls, or you could actually go out and physically talk to these people. I think it could be done. Now there are nurses, that Philippine nurses that started this group to try to get Medicare outside the U.S. because they paid into it. I paid into it. I think I should have the right to avail myself of Medicare all throughout the world, because it would actually save them money. Because let's say I need a heart operation, I have to go back home to get a heart operation, let's say, and I go back there, or whatever it may be, a gallbladder operation, it could be anything. And let's say I go back to the U.S. and I get the operation done there, and I have Medicare cover it. It's going to cost more. Here I can have it done really, really cheap. It's probably just as good in most hospitals here. I'm not saying each hospital is perfect here. It's not. But, you chose to live here, so you got to kind of suffer and accept the good with the bad sometimes. But yes, can you come over here and get an operation and be safe? Yeah, sure you could. But why wouldn't they let us do that if it's 25% less and pay for it directly? If they set up with these hospitals over here, and there are hospitals over here that I wouldn't even take my dog in to get operated on. I mean, I'm just being honest. But most of the hospitals over here, for minor operations and things like that, I think it's okay. I think you're safe, and I think you'll be decent. You'll be okay. But people also need to fight for this, and there are groups. I believe it was out of New Jersey. I talked about this before. I can't remember where it was. I talked about this a long time ago, and I can't remember if I put the group, the organization on there or not in the description. But anyway, this group was fighting for Medicare for these nurses, like I said. And you can obviously write letters to your congressman or whatever and say, hey, listen, there's a lot of people who are leaving the U.S. And, why can't we get Medicare outside the country? And it should be paid directly, but if it's not going to be, that's okay too. But I mean, then you have to kind of have some cash on the side. You have to put out a big cash layout and then get reimbursed by Medicare. Now, Medicare will pay on some of those things, but then you have to lay out the money, and then you have to submit it to get paid. Most people can't afford that. So, and then also some of it's only good for like 6 months. After 6 months, you're on your own. A lot of people are saying, well, Steve, if you get this, this, and this, well, that's only in some states from what I'm hearing. It's for most people, you cannot use Medicare outside the U.S., and you're certainly not going to get reimbursed. Now, here's the other thing. VA benefits. VA benefits. Once you leave the U.S., you come to the Philippines. The only benefits you're going to get over here is you're going to get your disability benefits where they pay you. You're going to get, you're going to go to the VA. You're going to be able to use the clinic, and it's only going to be for service connections. Now, a lot of people tell me, "Well, Steve, I'm 100%. I get covered for everything." No, whatever's written down for service connections is what you get covered for. Will they cover minor issues? Yes. Sometimes, if you walk into their office, they'll cover something. If it presents itself there, they'll help you for a few days or 30 days or something like that, and that's it. Then you're done. You're on your own. Also, a lot of times if you need an operation or something, the clinic doesn't do that. So then you have to go do FMP. You have to go to a hospital. Some of the hospitals here will work directly with FMP. Some of them won't. So you have to submit it, and you have to pay it out of pocket. Hopefully these things are changing. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because there's a lot going on in the Philippines right now. We're not opening up bases, but we're getting shared bases. We have, I believe it's 5 bases from before. Just got 5 new bases that the Philippines are going to share with us. There's talk that some bases might open back up to the U.S. and become U.S. bases again. Do I think that's going to happen? No, not unless the Constitution changes. That's probably not going to happen. But I see a lot of change here. They did hire some more people at the VA here. I don't know if it was because it was of attrition or whatever. I spoke with the guy that just left before he left, and I asked him. I says, "What's going on? Are you guys getting ready to close down?" He says, "Oh no, we're hiring more people." He says, "I'm on the way out." And I says, "Well, we're losing services left and right." I says, "Pain meds, stuff like that. We don't. You just cut that out." So it seems like you're cutting us off little by little by little, and then you're just going to say, "Okay, you guys are on your own now. You have to use FMP and go back to the United States or Guam once a year to check in with a clinic there." Well, I'm not sure if we're heading in that direction. It does seem like that sometimes, and it can be kind of scary. And we kind of have to speak up and write back to our congressmen and also our senators back home. Not that they really do that much lately. They really don't. Sometimes it seems like they don't care. I think we have to kind of, stand up for our rights a little bit. And there is a possibility that if we start getting more military in here, that the VA clinic here might start servicing us better. Now, is that a fact? Who knows? Could we start using military medical centers if they start opening up here? Who knows? It's a possibility, because sometimes that happens when you're outside the country, that you could possibly avail yourself. They might open up this stuff if we fight for it when we start seeing these military bases open up. And if they open up a military hospital here that the military can use, maybe, just maybe, we can start using that too. And we could probably start getting, the benefits where we can go into the hospital for almost anything. I believe it's if you're 70% service connected, you're basically covered for everything, so you can get everything. And back home, you walk in there even with 30%, they'll basically cover you for everything. I wish it was like that over here, but it's not. So we kind of lose a lot of things when we come over here, and that's the sad part of being an expat. Now, like I said, Medicare is that big thing that really hurts us. Now, over here, one of the things we can do is use the Medicare money to buy Pacific Cross or buy a really good plan that pays directly to the hospital. Pacific Cross does have plans that pay directly to the hospital. Are those worth it? Is it worth spending the money that we're saving on Medicare, and we're not buying Medicare? So some people still want to hold that Medicare. So if they hold that Medicare, then you can always go back home. But then if you choose not to go home, you're just throwing your money away, and it's basically you're throwing it in the trash. I say, take the money from back home, and people will disagree with me, and we can agree to disagree, because I understand some people, they have the money, the wherewithal to fly back home here and there whenever they want, and that's okay. If you have the wherewithal to do that, and you have major medical stuff, maybe it's worth it for you to fly back and forth. I fully get that. But for me, and I'm not everybody, and I know everybody's different. For me, I think I'd rather choose to be fully covered by some medical plan over here, fully covered, and be all set. And I rather choose that than go back and forth or have to worry about that stuff. Or if they did ever open up if they ever did open up the VA as a like a VA hospital in one of the military hospitals or something, we'd be all set. We'd be golden, and we'll see what happens, because I think things might change. Do I think they're going to change overnight? No, I don't. I do see some changes with the Philippines right now. I do see some things happen with the U.S. right now. And I think if we wrote to our congressmen and our senators back home and says, hey, in these new bills, anything that has to do with the Philippines or anything like that, could you throw something in there about Medicare, that we can have Medicare coverage over here at maybe three major hospitals in Manila or something? What about VA benefits? Can you start giving us full VA benefits here, so that we can get covered over here too? Because that's something it's part of what we deserve. We're veterans of the U.S. Why wouldn't we get that outside the U.S. just like we do in the U.S.? And like I said, we have to fight for it. And I myself am gonna sit down. I'm gonna write some emails this week and see what happens, and see if I can get a response from some of these guys, from some of the senators and congressmen back home. I did write, I believe it was like about 2 years ago. I got a quick response, and I never heard anything after that. So, but maybe this time here, if we get enough people writing in, and I implore you guys, we have a lot of people on this channel that are veterans and stuff, and people that use Medicare that aren't veterans. Right? It can't hurt. Anyway, guys, God bless. I hope you enjoyed today's show. It's something that we've talked about before, and I think we kind of have to take the bull by the horns now and see where we can go with this. God bless, guys. Take care.